So we hope everyone had a lovely, relaxing Thanksgiving break. But if you were like us, you still kept one eye on politics and everything going on, and you were just floored by all of the reports of Trump lashing out at everybody. So we thought we'd maybe go down the list today.
Well, we'll start with all the attacks that he made on journalists, which is personally offensive to us.
Yep.
Obviously. And so the most recent of these attacks is that the White House basically unveiled the section of their website that's like a journalist hall of shame, basically. And it looks like they'll be constantly updating this website to highlight which media organizations and journalists basically like did Trump wrong, or according to the administration, like distorted coverage of him.
And isn't the website literally like whitehouse.gov/media bias?
Yeah, it's very like flashy and out there. At the top of the website, it literally says like misleading, biased, and exposed in like huge italicized letters. And right under it, it lists the media offender of the week. And it looks like this week we have the Boston Globe, CBS News, and The Independent.
It's a three-way tie.
And it's like very organized. If you continue to scroll down, there's this whole system basically that names the outlet, the offense, the reporter, the claim, and then the truth. And then the offense itself is listed into categories like bias, left-wing lunacy, or even just like lie. Like it'll just be like lie. And then of course the cherry on top is that there's this leaderboard that ranks the worst outlets ever. And the top spot goes to the Washington Post, and then MSNBC, and then CBS News.
I just can't believe he's going so hard on CBS News after the Ellisons bought it, who are his friends, and Barry Weiss, who like was basically appointed to go softer on him.
No, it doesn't seem like he cares because the top spot went to Bezos, and they're like besties, and the Wall Street Journal's on there. He's just going after everyone. Like if you scroll down even more, there's this bubble chart situation that lists repeat offenders, which lists basically every single media outlet except Fox. There's even the New Jersey Monitor, that's like a local paper. I don't know what they did to him, but they have like a special appearance. And then if the website still wasn't enough and you need more, you can sign up for offender alerts and get them directly sent to your inbox.
That's enticing. So the Pentagon welcomed their new press corps this week. And Mabel, tell me what you notice about all of these outlets that now have Pentagon credentials. There's the pro-Trump channel, One America News, the right-wing website, The Federalist, the ultra-conservative newspaper, The Epoch Times. There's the Gateway Pundit, which is a far-right outlet known for conspiracy theories, the National Pulse, whose slogan is literally where MAGA goes to know, and Laura Loomer. What do you notice?
They seem very right-leaning.
Yes, so that's just to name a few, and they're all right to like fringe far right like media outlets.
I've never even heard of some of these.
And so there were welcome events this week that ran Monday through Wednesday that included a meet and greet with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And throughout all of this, of course, mainstream outlets like ABC, CBS, NBC, The Washington Post, New York Times that reach millions of people were just shut out of the Pentagon, and it follows the mass exodus of journalists who refuse to sign the Pentagon's new reporting restrictions, which basically say the Pentagon has to authorize any information, whether it's classified or unclassified, that can be reported. Like, that's not how journalism works. Like, that's literally the point of a free press.
No, that's literally censorship, and it's such an important department. It has to do with war, and you can't put certain information out unless they're okay with it. It's like propaganda.
Yeah, that's why almost no outlets signed it. Fox didn't even sign it. Newsmax didn't even sign it. So only 15 individual journalists were left, and this is why they're bringing in more.
We've seen all of those increased verbal attacks on female journalists that he's been doing, which is like really weird. There's been the famous incident where he called like a reporter piggy. He truthed that a New York Times writer was both ugly inside and out. He insulted a female journalist who asked him a question, and he was like, "Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?"
Yep.
And of course, we know he's always hated journalists, but focusing particularly on female journalists is just like, why is he doing that? And so Trump's niece, Mary Trump, who has her own show, has this theory of why he's doing that. And she says that it's because he's rattled, which is a theory that we've heard. Remember when former CNN analyst Chris Cillizza came on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, he said a very similar thing, that with the Epstein files and the Republicans basically losing the elections in November, Trump is overwhelmed. And what he does is go back to what he knows how to do, which is bully people. But then Mary takes this kind of a step further and says it's also because he's sexist and always has been. So she said, quote, "Everybody in my family, including the women, were misogynists. He and my uncle Robert treated my grandmother in a very infantilizing, disrespectful way. And it was very obvious that they didn't respect women and didn't think women should have any power."
Well, I think all the time how much it must grate on him that the only elections he's won have been against women.
Oh.
And he doesn't take women seriously. So that's why he was so obsessed with Joe Biden. He wanted to beat Biden because then it's like, I beat a man.
No, it's so true. And I think this kind of mentality has kind of trickled down throughout the rest of his administration as well, because when asked about Mary Trump's analysis, the White House comms director, Stephen Chung, said, quote, "Mary Trump is a stone cold loser who doesn't have a clue about anything."
Did Trump write that?
Yeah, like that's not even an answer. And he's like told a New York Times female reporter recently to, quote, "shut the fuck up for trying to politicize this tragedy," because she posted something about the National Guard being in DC. So clearly there's this culture in the administration of bullying female journalists and being very comfortable with it, which, I mean, just imagine being in that situation. Like, I saw this interview of this woman, like this female reporter who was berated by Trump, and she said, being in that situation, your entire body just freezes up, your mind goes blank because you're so humiliated by the most powerful man in the world, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think it's just important to recognize that it takes so much courage for these reporters to go in time and time again and challenge the president, even in this very toxic environment.
But of course, journalists are not the only people that Trump is coming for. He also went after 6 Democratic lawmakers who all served in the military or in an intelligence capacity, because they made a video, you probably saw it, that reminded troops that they can and must refuse illegal orders. That's literally stating something that's in the military code.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
But Trump, of course, said they're all traitors. They should be arrested and put on trial, and called their words seditious behavior, which is a crazy hyperbole of what sedition is. Seditious conspiracy is when people conspire to overthrow the government by force or try to prevent the execution of laws. So in their video, they're encouraging people to follow the law and not to follow unlawful orders. So they're literally doing the opposite. Experts also point out they didn't use force. So it's literally not sedition. And it's just all ironic because several Proud Boys and Oath Keepers were convicted of seditious behavior on January 6th, and Trump commuted their prison sentences. So
he's also been going back to his like bread and butter, which is of course attacking Biden every chance he gets. Like, I don't know how much time he's had over the Thanksgiving break to just go down the list, but we have Biden next.
I actually can't believe we are once again, it's like the Bernie meme, we are once again talking about auto pens. They are the DocuSign of the legislative world, in case like you don't know. And Trump truthed over the weekend that he is hereby canceling all executive orders that were not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, saying that Biden was not involved in the auto pen process. And if he says he was, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. So he's insinuating that Biden's aides and staff put his signature on bills that Biden didn't direct them to do. Biden has obviously said that is not true, and all bills were signed with his permission. And actually, House Republicans did a whole report on Biden's use of auto pens and found there's no evidence that anyone...
waste of time.
Yeah. Auto pens have been around since the 1800s, and the DOJ previously concluded that presidents don't need to personally, like physically sign a document in order for it to be legal. So it's kind of like cut and dry that his use was totally fine. And Biden signed 162 executive orders, and it's unclear how many he used an auto pen on. Trump claimed with no evidence it was 92% or auto pen. No idea if that's true. And Trump's already rescinded 89 of Biden's executive orders.
Oh my God.
He really is going down the list.
Well, remember when we interviewed Liz Oyer, who's Biden's former pardon attorney, and we talked to her about auto pens, she said there's even rumors that Trump uses an auto pen. So like, why is he literally doing this? It's such a waste of everyone's life.
At the time, I didn't realize the distinction is that not that he used it, that he thinks Biden didn't directly say to use it.
His truth socialing has gotten out of control. So earlier this week on Monday, apparently, on Monday night, he posted over 160 times between 7 p.m. and midnight, with most posts, they said, shared twice. And at one point, he was just firing off more than one post a minute.
That's insane.
Get off your phone.
Stream of consciousness. And of course, he just blamed Biden for everything. He's apparently making over the National Mall, and he's blaming Biden for the algae overgrowth in the reflecting pool. Even though it's usually cleaned in the winter, it's just time to be cleaned. It's not Biden's fault. Like, that's what happened.
Like, Biden, like, snuck in this past year and, like, threw algae in the pool. Like,
no, he literally sounds like that. Like, he's calling Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, the R slur, which is, it's disgusting for anyone, any human to use that word. The president of the United States, it's actually, like, shocking. He also said Somali refugees are completely taking over Minnesota and attacked Ilhan Omar as the worst, quote, congressman/woman in the country. He's clearly never heard the word congressperson ever in his life.
Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
And again, like we said, all of these attacks are, I mean, they're normal. Trump does this, but they have been escalating so much recently. And we have some theories, like obviously he could be rattled, but also he's just old maybe and exhausted. So the New York Times actually did an analysis of his schedule. And even though it doesn't feel like it because we're talking about him all the time, apparently this term we're seeing him way less than we did last term. So his total appearances have decreased by 39%.
Huge drop. And they're also starting later in the day.
Yeah, so his public schedule starts at 12 p.m. and ends at 5, which is like, it's 5 hours. It's less than an average person workday, and you're the president. And if you're wondering, like, is that normal? Maybe all presidents have this schedule. We actually have proof that it's not, because a former White House physician, Jeffrey Coleman, basically wrote this book on presidential healthcare. And he said that Trump's schedule contrasts very heavily with that of like Bush and Obama's, because one of the points he made was both built exercise into their daily schedule. And apparently Trump is very sedentary. He has been even in his first term.
He doesn't believe in exercise.
And he said their days start really early because obviously there's so much to do. Apparently Bush would be in the Oval Office by 6:45 a.m. Obama would come by 10 a.m., but his days ended at like 7 p.m. So just these long days, and Trump is cutting them down. And so, I mean, he seems tired, even though he's constantly trying to project this like image of energy and aggressiveness. We can just tell that he's getting tired, and maybe that's why he's going kind of crazy.
I mean, when he ends his term, he's going to be the oldest president ever. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting that he came after Biden so hard for, you know, like, especially in his last year being old and not working so hard, when this is kind of something that's happening.
The call's coming from inside the house.